Good afternoon, Hoosiers. I'm Quincy Cofield.
And I'm Dylan Traeger. Welcome to the Fast Five, presented by the Indiana University Media School.
It was a big weekend for Hoosier athletics. Indiana's Fast Five starts now.
This past week, the Indiana men's basketball team had a tropical experience as the team participated in the Battle for Atlantis tournament in the Bahamas. IU opened up with games against Louisville and number 3 ranked Gonzaga. In both games, Indiana let the score slip away early on as guard play was non-existent. Indiana guards failed to connect offensively from the field throughout each game. In addition to this, Indiana players didn't look alive, showing flashes of not hustling and not putting in effort throughout the games. After dropping both games against Louisville and Gonzaga, Indiana matched up against Providence for its last game of the tournament. Trey Galloway had himself a game, finishing with 18 points on 7 of 12 shooting. Galloway looked fresher and confident in his ability against Providence, serving as the main ball handler. The energy looked recharged as Indiana led the score in the game for over 37 minutes, trailing for just 40 seconds. Indiana's largest lead reached 19 points as the Hoosiers took the must-win game 89-73 over Providence. Following the 1-2 record in the Bahamas, Indiana men's basketball returned home to Bloomington, hosting Sam Houston on Tuesday night. Everything seemed to click for Indiana throughout the game. Specifically, Luke Goody clicked. Goody checked in off the bench in the first half and immediately served as a bench spark, hitting 4 shots from beyond the arc across a 4-minute span. Goody's 12 points over the short span were contagious as the start of his 3-point scoring ignited a 19-3 scoring run for Indiana. Goody finished the game with 18 points, a new collegiate career high, while connecting on 5 3-balls. Indiana ultimately took this one 97-71, improving to 6-2 on the season. Indiana will stay at home hosting Miami, Ohio Friday night at 7 o'clock p.m.
The number 9 Indiana football team took on the rivaled Purdue Boilermakers this past weekend. In the snowy Winterland Memorial Stadium, the Hoosiers crushed the Boilermakers in an explosive 66-0 fashion, the largest margin of victory against Purdue in school history. Curtis Rourke threw for 349 yards and 6 touchdowns. The defense would treat Purdue like some Thanksgiving turkey, holding them to only 67 yards, along with 2 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. This win boosted the Hoosiers to 11-1 on the year as they have set their eyes for the first expanded college football playoff. As the season comes to a close, it's time for conference and national award winners to be revealed, and the Hoosiers have several winners on the roster. Our very own Blair Wyman has more.
Thank you, guys. 3 members of Indiana football took home Big Ten awards this week. Curtis Rourke was named Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week after completing 23 of 31 passes for 349 yards and a program record tying 6 touchdown passes against the Boilermakers. Rourke joins Anthony Thompson as the only Hoosier to win 3 or more Big Ten awards in a single season. Jalen Walker earned his first career Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week after a 5-tackle, 2-turnover forced outing against the Boilermakers. All 5 tackles produced lost yardage as well as an interception and a forced fumble in the game. Finally, Indiana's head coach Curt Cignetti was named Big Ten Coach of the Year as announced by the conference office yesterday. This comes with his first year 11-1 record for the regular season with the Hoosiers. Back to you guys.
Over break, the 14th seed men's soccer team took on the 13th seed Akron Zips here in Bloomington. The men went down 1-0 in the 30th minute after a goal from Akron's Dyson Clypier. However, that was no problem for the Hoosiers as they would strike back with 2 unanswered goals, one from Justin Weiss in the 70th minute and one from Jansen Miller in the 100th minute to put the Hoosiers on top 2-1. This win advanced them to the Sweet 16, marking their 10th straight season qualifying for the round, the longest active streak in the nation. The men then traveled to Denver, Colorado to take on the 3-seed Pioneers. Denver's Keegan Kelly would score quickly to take a 1-0 lead. Indiana would dominate the second half, getting 3 shots and 2 shots on goal. However, it wasn't enough for the Hoosiers, and they would fall to the Pioneers 1-0, putting a disappointing end to a great year. The men finished the season 11-5-5 and going 7-1-2 in conference games, winning a share of the Big Ten title with Ohio State. It is Indiana's 19th Big Ten title in school history.
Indiana women's basketball hosted Maine on Sunday afternoon, returning home after the women's Battle for Atlantis tournament. It was the Chloe Moore McNeil show as Chloe shot a perfect 6 for 6 in the first half. Moore McNeil stepped up big time as graduate student guard Sydney Parrish was sidelined for the game after suffering a knee injury. Moore McNeil finished with 22 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists as Indiana defeated Maine 78-53. Moore McNeil's 22 points tied her career high, which came last season against Purdue on February 11th, 2024. With the win, Indiana improved to 5-3 on the year overall, while holding a 3-1 record at home. Next up, Indiana hosts Southern Indiana tonight at 7 p.m. The team will then travel to Penn State, facing the Nittany Lions on Saturday at 1 p.m.
Number 28 Indiana Wrestling traveled to New York on November 21st to take on the Columbia Lions. Despite a hot start, the Hoosiers will go down 21-8 heading into the last 3 bouts of the meet. Led by a Tech Fall 184-pound grad student, DJ Washington, Indiana was scored 15 unanswered points for a huge 23-21 comeback victory, putting them at 4-0 on the year. On November 23rd, the wrestling team will send 15 wrestlers to Annapolis, Maryland for the annual Navy Classic. This tournament will see the Hoosiers place 4th and 8 wrestlers finishing on the podium, with grad students Angelo Rini and Jacob Bullock winning their respective weight classes. This Friday, the Hoosiers will travel to Indianapolis to take on number 11 Illinois in the first ever Big Ten Takedown Classic, with the match set to take place in the Convention Center. Afterwards, they'll immediately be back on the road Saturday to Cleveland, Ohio to take on Cleveland State for the Cleveland State Open. And it looks like our 5 minutes is up. I'm Quincy Cofield.
And I'm Dylan Traeger. Thank you for joining us, and come back Monday for a recap of this week in Hoosier Athletics.